We just have to say yes to that. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. Air quotes on see you. It's fine. We're going to start on the floor. We're going to take a rise and shine practice this morning. So we're going to start on the floor and come to standing. And then we'll close just briefly on the floor. And I'm going to try and keep this about 25 minutes because I've noticed folks are usually booked at 1 o'clock. So give you guys time to make those transitions. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Jan. We're going to start. My name's Tony. Welcome to this Rise and Shine yoga session, Wellness for Educators. If you'd like, coming onto your back and just taking a moment to lay down. I've got my knees bent, feet on the floor, spine as soft as you can allow it to be. Shoulders heavy, arms heavy, taking a moment to let your head and neck, your jaw, your eyes relax, your tongue relax. Neck and throat might need to soften as well. And so we're just going to take a beat here to notice gravitational pull, feeling the mass and weight and shape of the body. And then when you feel like, okay, I've kind of got a picture of how I feel here on the floor, taking a breath in with the head on straight. And as you exhale, just gently letting your head turn to look over the right shoulder. Breathing back to center. Exhale, looking over the left shoulder. And you are welcome to let your eyes be closed if that feels best to you in this moment. If you prefer to let your eyes scan across the ceiling above you, you're welcome to. Breathing to center, breathing out as you turn. Back and forth a couple more times. Bringing awareness to the breath. If you might feel helpful to do as I just did, exhale with a sigh. And the next time your head comes over to the right, looking over the right shoulder, go ahead and let your left palm turn to face the floor and just give a little push so that you're gently pressing into a little bit more range of motion. And then releasing the hand, releasing the head and neck, coming back to center. And then we'll take it on the other side, looking left, right palm turns down, gives a little push to the floor, lengthening the side of the right side of the neck, and then coming back to center, releasing the hand, releasing the head. We're going to draw the right knee toward the chest. You're welcome to hold on. You are also welcome to just let the arms relax by your side and circle the ankle. So we're just going to begin moving joints through some of their range of motion, changing direction, noticing if the path in that circle is smooth, choppy, and then when you're done flexing and pointing, same thing, just noticing is there smoothness to the quality of motion, reaching through the heel, reaching through the toes. And then when you've gotten going on there, we're going to extend the knee, pushing the heel to the sky and then pointing, drawing the leg back down. And so now beginning to use the whole leg up, back, and down. I'm going to take that a couple more times and then let that grow into a bigger motion where it looks like I'm bicycling with that right leg. And while we're using the right leg, you want to just kind of be mindful that your spine, your trunk, feels stable and steady. So you might actually have to engage to create some firmness through the trunk. And my left foot is also very plugged into the floor to help stabilize, as if it were a supporting leg. And then changing direction, letting the leg push out and up and back down. Feeling the rhythm of the bones, coordination of the muscles, and however that feels. There's no right or wrong to how it should feel. Just noticing. I'm going to let my ankle finally cross to the opposite knee. My right palm is going to come to the inside of my right thigh, and I'm going to give a push into my thigh, But rather than being passive in my leg, I'm going to push back into my hand with my thigh. So we're creating an isometric contraction through the right side chain of the body. Taking a couple of breaths here. Feeling firm in the trunk. Maybe also feeling a little release down through the tailbone, lengthening the spine. Isolating that thigh bone in the hip socket. And then when you're ready, go ahead and release that contraction. Maybe wag the knee a little bit. And then I'm going to bring my hand back, this time now just to kind of touch, to have contact with my right knee. I'm going to slide my left palm behind the back of my head. Taking a breath in here. On the out breath, gently lifting the head and neck and drawing your left elbow towards the right knee, but I'm not lifting further than shoulders. And then rolling down slow. So again, we're activating our abdomen, the core, coordinating the movement, keeping it smooth with the breath in and out. One more breath in. Breath out as you rise. Elbow pointing towards the foot, towards the knee. And slowly lowering down. Letting the head come back down to ground. Drawing that knee back towards the chest. Give it a little squeeze. And we're going to send that leg up, down, hovering just above the floor. So I'm reaching through my heel. And then letting the left arm reach away. So my left arm rises, feeling that cross-lateral connection between the right and left side. Heel reaching away from the toe. Trunk is firm, active in your center. And then letting the leg come all the way down to relax, letting the arm float down to relax. Shake out the toes. Let that hip soften a little bit. And then we'll take the other side. Left knee comes towards the chest. Slow, big circles with the toe. Just exploring the range of motion in the ankle and the other way. Flexing and pointing, flexing, pointing. And then letting that grow into extension of the knee, extension of the ankle, flexion of the knee, flexion of the ankle. Finding the rhythm of the bones, finding the rhythm of the muscles. Beginning to feel some energy pumping through the leg. And then when you're ready, letting that begin to grow into a bigger motion, pedaling the bicycle. Firm through the trunk, soft in the spine. Maybe changing direction, firm in your right foot connection to the floor, supporting the trunk, the spine, stability and center. Finally, letting that leg come up and then folding the knee, ankle to the opposite knee, left palm to left thigh, applying pressure and pushing back into the hand. Isometric contraction through that left chain and breathing. When you're done, softening that contraction, relax or wag the knee a little bit. And then placing the left hand on the left knee just for a little contact. Right hand comes behind the head and taking a breath in. On the out breath, lifting the head, neck, and that elbow points towards the opposite elbow. Just in the neck and shoulders, lowering down with control. Using the exhale to rise. And using a full breath to lower down. One more time, breath in. And breath out, lifting. And lowering down, releasing the neck and head, releasing both hands. That left heel presses towards the sky and then down towards the floor. Reaching through the leg as the right arm reaches overhead. Applying some contact through that right foot, back body is stiff, firm to the floor, core is active. Feeling energy rising through the body, reaching from fingertips to that opposite heel, and then lowering the leg down, letting that arm come back down by your side. Shake out the toes, letting that hip soften. We're going to drop both knees towards the chest. Give yourselves a hug. A nice little good morning massage to the low back. Rocking back and forth very gently. And from here, we're going to go ahead and roll onto one side and come up to standing in whatever manner feels most skillful to you. If you need to use a chair to come up, by all means. If you feel like you can come up with no hands, I always challenge folks to consider that. It's a nice strengthening practice. Good to know how to do. So I do that usually by stepping one foot forward, tucking the toes, and pressing off to come up. And I'll shift here. So we're going to come to mountain pose, or standing posture, which is feet about hip width apart. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. If you want to challenge your balance, you could bring your toes and ankles to touch or stepping apart. Arms come by your side, collarbones wide, shoulder blades resting on that upper back. Feeling the pelvis in neutral. So you might feel like your tailbone is dropping towards the floor, maybe without tucking. You might even just take a moment to notice where your pelvis lands. Sometimes just placing hands on the top of your hips to feel like you can find that neutral space for the pelvis connecting the lower half to the upper half. And so mountain pose is this idea that the lower half of the body is rooting down into the floor. You might feel like you're plugging your feet in. Sometimes it can be helpful to imagine squeezing a ball between your thighs and simultaneously inviting the feet to broaden as if you were pulling your mat wide. Noticing if that just begins to connect the upper half, your core, from the diaphragm down through the legs, down into the soles of the feet, and then letting your upper body float towards the ceiling. Maybe letting the shoulders begin to feel like they're floating. You might even take a couple of little circles. Let them float on the rib cage rather than pulling shoulders back and down. See if you can let them just be broad and soft. And pausing here for a breath or two. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, it can be an interesting practice, balance, sensing, feeling moment. If that's not comfortable for you for any reason, let the gaze just soften, finding a point to look at in the space you find yourselves in. We're going to let the arms float up in salutation. Arms rise, palms are going to come together overhead and then descend. Inhaling up. Exhale, hands to the heart center. And you might take a gentle bow, watching the hands descend, sweeping wide and up. You might also, if your eyes are open, you're welcome to close them, but if your eyes are open, just noticing your peripheral vision, right? So letting the arms float up just inside your peripheral vision. And noticing if you can keep track of your hands the whole time. Letting the eyes scan up. Let's take that one more time just so you can explore that. Letting the arms rise Plugging the feet into the floor, hands come to the heart center, gentle bow. Inhaling back up. Exhale, open wide and down. Back to mountain. And just noticing sensations, noticing your feet. When you're ready, go ahead and loosen things up, shake things out, wiggle things out. Let it go. I like to say fascia, our connective tissue, likes to undulate. So sometimes yoga can be a little binary, so it's nice to throw in some wiggles. Okay, I wanted to, just for our rise and shine, bring a little heat, a little energy into the body. So we're going to take a whole body practice that I call moving crane to crescent. So we're going to start a little bit wider than hip width apart in our mountain pose, but we're going to just start shifting the weight from one foot to the other, almost like you're steadying yourself on a moving platform, a ship, dock, whatever that is. And then maybe beginning to bend the knees. You're welcome to touch down with that opposite foot. If it feels skillful to begin lifting that foot away from the floor, go right ahead. And just noticing the difference, maybe between touching down, lifting up. And I would recommend, as you begin to see what I'm doing, letting your eyes shift from the screen back to the space you're in to a fixed point for your balance. I'm going to begin bending one knee as I lift that working leg, that balancing, lifting leg up and off. So the knee bends out in front, swings back down and across. Knee bends, sweeps down and across. I'm going to show you from the side. Knee bends, steps back, side, and the other leg comes up. And we're going to add the arms here. Letting the arms kind of float to 90 degrees, crane, and then they float down, back up to crane. And I'll come back this way. And you're welcome to take it at a tempo that's faster, slower, letting the breath be steady. I'm going to take a couple more repetitions here. Crane, shifting from side to side, and then we're going to add our crescent lunge. So this time when I come over, I'm going to step this working leg through and back to a lunge. I might leave that back heel off. I might put it down, your choice. I'm going to let my arms reach up away from my heel, just as we did on our backs. And then sweep that leg back up to crane, arms side to crane, stepping through to the other side. Up, stepping back, finding a spot in the space to watch, to keep your gaze, noticing your peripheral vision. If you're watching me too much on the screen, I'm a moving target. It's just a little bit harder for balance. You could also challenge yourself that way. A couple more times. So maybe noticing your heart rate, noticing your breath rhythm, noticing feelings in the muscles as the energy rises. Noticing the stretch in the back calf, shoulders. And then we're going to dial this back. So letting it just come back to dancing crane, side to side. Easy does it. Noticing all the things. Feeling energy moving through the body. And letting the arms rest and let the legs keep going. So we're just moving back the way we came. Until finally it's a shift of the weight from side to side to side. And coming to center, pausing in mountain. Nice, good. Taking a moment for a balance practice here. I just got somebody maybe asking to come in. Not sure why the waiting room's back on, JJ, but that's okay. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Megan. We've been at this for a little bit, but we're going to take a balance pose, tightrope here. So maybe some of you have done this. Maybe you haven't done it in a while. But tightrope is essentially imagining you are putting both feet on one linear line, as if you were on a tightrope. And so you might just start there by placing, and obviously if there are balance issues or if you're fatigued or anything at all, the nervous system really appreciates having a contact point with something solid. So if you wanted to turn and put one hand on a wall, feel free to. And you might just notice instantly the difference between having just that little bit of touch and releasing touch. Feeling into the soles of the feet, feeling a bit of a squeeze between your thighs. So it's not just like we're hanging here hoping for balance. We want to feel that squeezing, lengthening out through the crown of the head. And I'm going to take just a little walk. And you could slide your foot around, right? Again, proprioception through the foot there is going to tell you where you are. So that can dial down the risk factor of feeling like you're wobbly, right? That can be an option. If you feel really confident, you might play with lifting the knee up and down and behind, right? And then you might also find it interesting to come into your posture, into the tightrope placement of the feet, and rise up onto the balls of the feet and lower back down. And rise up, squeezing the inner thighs, lifting up through the crown of the head. You might use your arms to help lengthen yourself skyward. Right? And then again, I just noticed it's good to be reminded to find a spot on the wall to steady your gaze. All right, and it's the one part I find hard sometimes in Zoom is that people want to look to see what I'm doing, right? And that naturally throws the head, and that can throw balance pretty quickly. So be kind to yourselves in your self-assessment, what's going on, right? If you feel a little wobbly, that might be why more than anything. Good. And at last, letting the arms float down, letting the feet come wide, taking a beat, allowing yourselves just to pause, coming back to mountain, both feet on the ground. Palms facing forward if that's comfortable. Feeling into the soles of the feet, feeling the energy rising up through the legs, into the trunk, across your shoulders, out through the crown of the head. I'm going to invite you, if you have a couple more moments before you have to move on, to go to a wall or the back of a chair. I'm going to demonstrate with both. And rather than closing on the floor, because you guys are all at the start of your day, I think it might be nicer just to kind of keep our energy up. So if you have a chair, you might place your hands on the back of a chair, pressing down, releasing your tailbone back into half dog. If you're not in a space with a chair, you might take your hands like shoulder height at a wall and walk your hips back that way, pushing overhead. So feeling that quality of pushing, resisting gravitational pull through the arms, the shoulders, letting your hips come back. I like to invite people to pedal out their legs. You might bend one knee and then the other. Notice how that affects the back of your legs, the hips. Some of you might actually also benefit from coming to vertical and just taking a little bit of a push up against the wall, letting your weight shift towards the chair if that were, but you want to make sure your chair is not going to roll out. So if you've got chairs on casters, lock them up Make sure you're not going to go anywhere, right? But taking this stretch here, rolling forward, and then beginning to let the weight come forward and back. Just a little bit. Noticing your breath. Taking that time to lengthen the back line of your body. And then for those of you who have a couple of extra moments, you're welcome to come join me. I think what I'll just do is offer a brief breath practice in the chair. If you have to go on to your next session or your day, that's fine. If you have a moment to join me, coming into a chair, whatever chair you've got, and nestling your back right up to the back of the chair, letting your feet be planted on the floor if you can. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if that's skillful. If you need to leave them open, please do. Just let your gaze soften and perhaps just cluing into the cues. I'm going to invite you to blow out all of your breath and then take a little breath in through the nose and blow out the breath. And see if you can take your next breath into your back and blow out the breath. And take your next breath into your back ribs, low back, side ribs. And blow it out. And one more time, breathing into the back. And breathing out. And then letting your breath just come to an even rhythm. Easy breath in, easy breath out. As much as you can, feeling into the back body breathing. Inviting the back ribs to gently soften and expand, inviting the armpits perhaps to receive the breath. Sometimes it can be helpful just to take your thumbs and press into the armpit, the top of the rib cage. And notice if your ribs expand laterally with an in-breath. Noticing if you can slow down your out-breath. And releasing your hands. Maybe placing hands over the heart. Thank you for taking this time this morning to be with me, filling your cup so that you might fill the cup of others. Thank you. I'm going to end there because I think you're probably all moving on to your next session. I wish you a really good day.